So when we first met, I will never forget, you told me very casually that you see a therapist. I will never forget this. And I've said this a lot to friends over the years. Oh, my closest friend in New York, Angelique, casually told me the first few days we met that she sees a therapist. This is very shocking in the Arab world. Now it's gotten better, but in 2009, I was shocked when you said that, how comfortable you were. And I loved that. I loved that.
My guest today is Nadim Safieddine. He has loved film and television his entire life, and in 2011, he turned that passion into Nad's Reviews, the first site in the Middle East dedicated to in-depth TV and film commentary. During the pandemic, he moved into video and built a community of more than 500,000 followers, opening doors to collaborations, Netflix and Disney+, plus invites to radio, TV, and podcasts. In 2024, he launched his own show, Unscripted, where he lifts the voices shaping film and television across the Arab world. But what sets him apart is his courage to speak openly about anxiety, grief, and mental health. In a culture where vulnerability is often hidden, he helps countless viewers around the world realize they are not alone. Welcome back to Co-Cut with Angelique. I'm Angelique, and today I have an amazing guest. This is a dear friend of mine, Nadim Safieddine, and he is joining me from Dubai. So, Nadim, you have no idea how excited I am to have this conversation with you because we go way back.
You really go way back, like to be exact, 2009.
Yeah, yes. Nadim and I were in film school together at the New York Film Academy. And
Yes.
that's where and you were, oh my God, you were what, 20? Maybe?
I think so, yeah. Something like 2021, I think. Yeah. September, and we
Yes.
met September 2009. And I vividly remember meeting you for the first time ever. It was around orientation or so. And you were texting on your phone or something like that. And we met like a second later, and we became BFFs that year. And we've been in touch since then, which I love. Like we built a real friendship in the span of just 1 year that has
Yes.
like now 15 years later, and we've always remained in touch. And I love it. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. Oh, me too. You are one of my favorites. My husband and I, every time we go past Le Express,
Oh,
I'm
the
like,
Express.
that,
Wow.
do you
That's
remember?
it.
I'm like,
That was our
that's me
place.
and Nadim. That was our spot.
It's still open?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. When I visit New
You know,
York next, we're going there just for old time's sake. Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I really wanted you to come on this show was because we have a lot more in common just than the film, and which is a beautiful thing because, we are definitely going to tell people what you're up to because what you're up to is
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank
And,
you.
but you and I have this panic anxiety sort of thing. And what I love about your story is you are living proof that you can overcome some of the most tragic things that happen in one's life and in one's mind and come out on the other side in such an elevated, grounded, beautiful way that I think is going to be so inspiring to other people who are struggling with things that, they maybe don't speak about.
Wow. That means so much just hearing that. So thank you. I hope if we can just help one person, like I'll be happy. So and we've always had this bond, yes. Because I think you were the first person I ever spoke to, perhaps about anxiety and all of that. And we'll get into that. We can start wherever you want to start, but
Oh,
I'm so happy
you're
to
so
be
cute.
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually, when you and I
Uh-huh.
met and we were going through the whole NIFA program, I had the peak of my panic anxiety happening.
You were going through a tough time. I remember. Yeah. I hadn't entered my anxiety phase thing yet, but you were going through a tough time. I
Yep.
remember.
I
Yeah.
was I was really like, oh God, it was brutal. And it's amazing
Mm,
how you really can stuff it so people who are looking at you, who don't really know you, can think you're completely fine. And on the inside, your
mm.
whole body is just falling apart. Um, but what I wanted to talk about with you is because you have lost not one, but two of your parents.
Yes.
And yes,
Yes.
and I kind of want to start the story there because when we met, it was
Yes.
your dad.
It was just my dad, exactly. So we met, I was around 21. My dad passed away when I was 18. So, and it was quite quick. He was diagnosed. I can't remember anymore what kind of cancer, which is morbidly funny and bizarre. I make a lot of jokes about this, by the way. So it's just comedy has helped me, cope with my grief a lot.
Yes.
So I cannot tell you if it was bladder or kidney or pancreas. It was one of these three. I think it was pancreas. Anyway, he passed away within a year. So it was pretty fast. Very intense cancer, chemo, the works, all of that. Um, and we were close, not as close as me and my mom, which I'll get to. But of course, that was like the first big trauma, in my life, just watching him wither away over the span of that 1 year. So I came to New York. So when I came to New York, my mom had been diagnosed a few months before I came. She was diagnosed with cancer as well. And I didn't want to come to New York and do the film school thing. But she did not want me to put my dreams on hold. I vividly remember this conversation very much. And so I felt like if I canceled New York Film Academy, she would feel so guilty. And I didn't want to put that on her, but it's very hard to leave a sick parent and move halfway across the globe. So I remember vividly, she was diagnosed in May 2009, and I moved to New York in September. That's when we met. That was very hard leaving her. She was in the middle of chemo. It was very, very heartbreaking. And throughout that year when I was in New York, she kept going through chemo and on and off, all of that. A year later, when we were done with New York Film Academy, she had deteriorated. So instead of continuing my film dream, I wanted to be a director and
Yes.
all
And a
of
very
that.
good one, I have to
I don't
say.
know if you remember. Thank you. So I don't know if you remember, but I had gotten an internship in Los Angeles, and that was the dream to move there and all of that. But mom was sick. I came back to Lebanon. That's where we grew up and that's where we lived in. She lasted 2 more years, so a total of 3 years as a cancer patient. And she passed away 2 years after. And that was the real big trauma of my life because we were so close. Um, and the grief that I experienced in the years after that led to anxiety, panic attacks, eventually getting medicated on an SSRI called Cipralex, which I'm still on and I love. Again, everyone talks to their doctor, they do what's right for them. But for me, it saved me. And we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, coming to terms with losing two parents, I think has been the biggest challenge of my life, the biggest struggle. Because you imagine one of them getting cancer, maybe, but I still don't believe that the second one got it as well. I still struggle with it today. Like, what are the chances? Most of my friends still have both parents, and I lost two to the same disease. Like, that has been my big life is unfair thing that I've struggled to accept,
Yeah. Well,
even until today. It's crazy.
it's absolutely justified. There's a 1 in 9 million chance that you get struck by lightning once, right? And so to get struck by lightning twice in the same lifetime is right? That's a little bit disconcerting for
Yeah.
anybody where someone would feel like,
Yeah.
"What the hell just happened to me, and why?"
Yeah.
It's funny you said something.
And you compare a lot,
Yeah,
by the way. You compare a lot. Like
yeah,
I compared to my friends for years. They all have both their parents, not in a, evil way, just in a, what are the chances that I lost two before the age of 23? And I recognize some people lose them earlier. There are much more tragic stories than mine. I was an adult, but the safety net was completely taken out from under me? You were going to say something. Sorry. Yeah.
no, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't worry, I marked it in the old
Okay, good.
noggin. The noggin yeah, the noggin is not, like, as sharp as it is. It goes on pause sometimes, like, it's like on a delay, and I get this vacant look. They say it's perimenopause, but I'm like, "No." I don't know what it is. It's just like somebody puts me on pause for a second, but it clicks in. You said earlier about, comedy,
Yeah.
and what's interesting is years ago when I was an actor,
Yeah.
my acting coach said, "Oh, you're very funny." I said, "Thanks." And he said, "You must have a lot of pain in your
Oh,
life
yes.
because,
Mm.
yeah, because people who are very funny are usually have a lot of
They
pain in
harbor
their
a
life."
lot of pain, yeah.
And
But
yeah, if you think about some huge comedians, right? Robin Williams comes to the top of
and
my mind.
Matthew Perry for me because I love Friends so much, and he had so much pain, and
Yes.
he's the funniest actor to me, yeah.
Yeah, oh, I remember that, your Friends
Yes,
obsession.
yes, it's still going strong even
Yeah.
now. Whenever I'm lonely, I still have it on. I don't know, you probably remember in New York, because I felt so lonely, I would keep it on in the background, always. So I'd feel less
Yes,
alone.
yes.
Yeah,
But see, that's the beauty of art, in my opinion,
yeah,
is that you can have that sort of company and that sort of connection
yeah.
to people that you don't even know, but that's a whole vibe, sort of, we are actually all one kind of conversation. What's interesting what you said about your safety net,
Yeah,
right? Because that is where anxiety actually comes from, is not feeling safe.
100%.
And right? And your fight or flight gets triggered. You don't even realize that it's been triggered because you kind of feel normal, okay? But suddenly your heart is racing for no reason. You feel like you can't breathe.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, I feel like I'm going to die. I'm having a heart attack, and everybody experiences panic anxiety very, very differently.
Yeah.
And so when you told me, and I remember, by the way,
Mm.
when your mom passed away, because I was at the cottage and you and I spoke on the phone on WhatsApp. I remember you text me.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember at
And I
all
just
that time. It's such a blur because there was so much
blur.
trauma, so I'd love to hear this, yeah. And,
Oh, I'll never forget this.
um,
My husband, my friend, we were all at the cottage and I was laying in the room and I remember what I was doing. I was
mm,
playing Candy Crush
wow, yeah.
and and I just your name popped into my head. I don't know why. Because, well, I do know why. That happens to me a lot. People, their names will pop in and then the phone goes, right?
Mm,
And I looked at the phone and I saw the text where you said, "Hi, Angie, I just want to let you know mom passed,
mm,
mom died."
mm.
And I just started crying. I called you through the WhatsApp.
Oh, we spoke on the
Yeah.
phone. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was a long time ago. It was very quick. You didn't, you were very upset. Uh, but I remember I got off the phone and I just started to cry and I thought,
Mhm.
man, of all the people, why? Like,
Yeah.
I was hoping, because my stupidly optimistic self would always tell you, no, don't worry. It's going to be
Mhm.
okay. The same thing isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, ooh, okay,
Yeah.
this guy, and I couldn't hug you and I couldn't do anything. You're thousands and thousands of miles away from somebody, but man, heartbreak is interesting how it transcends time and space.
No, I just wanted to say you were talking about safety net. I Something popped into my mind. I never really thought of it, but and it showcases the differences in where we grew up. So I know in the States, correct me if I'm wrong, but kids tend to leave the house at like 18, right? And they become financially independent, or they're expected to be financially independent. I know maybe it doesn't apply to everyone, but in the Arab world, kids tend to stay with their parents until they get married, and especially even men, yeah? So you could stay well into your 30s, even early 40s, living under your parents' roof, them paying for everything. It must be very surreal for you to hear. It's crazy. It doesn't build much independence, but that's how the culture is. So a lot of my anxiety and safety thing was financial, because my parents were gone. The source of my income, or like I was working, but I mean, I never had to think too much about, worry about finances much until then. And just to bounce on top of that, so when mom passed away in 2012, I didn't have anxiety immediately. It was just grief, intense sadness. I would say the first 2 years were hell and horrible and all of that. Then a few years later, 4 years later to be exact, I moved to Dubai with my then fiance. We got married a few months later. And then there was a big market crash in Lebanon. And we lost all our money and savings, all Lebanese. This happened to, 90% of Lebanese or whatever, because the government is so corrupt. So that's when anxiety and panic attacks entered my life, because I had some money savings, remaining from my parents, all of that. They were all gone. So the financial fear, coupled with the grief and all of that, started giving me panic attacks and anxiety. And this was what tipped me over the edge. And I saw a psychiatrist then. I'd been doing therapy for years and I still do it. But when I said, I think I need meds because I'm waking up every morning with this feeling of doom, this like plate on my chest. I don't know if you've experienced that feeling. You wake up and there's like something
Oh,
so
yeah.
heavy here, intense fear, feeling of doom. I think of the word doom a lot,
Yeah. It's a
and
good one.
yeah, and that's when I said, I don't think this is normal. I was still functioning. There was no depression. I think the doctor told me it was generalized anxiety disorder at the time. I was eating fine, all of that, but I had this fear 24/7. I was in fight or flight constantly. So, and of course, the meds take like 2 months to work or so. But then I started feeling like myself again. And I've been on since. But yeah, just going off that security thing, like the financial aspect and coming from the Arab world and relying on your parents, like that magnified the death and the impact of the death. I wasn't independent at 18, like so many people in the world are. And I had to take care of a wife and
Yeah.
we were in a new country oh, and I got fired like
Yeah.
2 months after moving to Dubai, right before our wedding. So imagine, and then we lost all our money. You don't know all of this. I never gave you all of these details. Angelique is hearing this for the first time, guys. So yeah.
Yes.
So it was a
I'm
lot.
like, "Oh my god.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Wow."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. What year did
Yeah.
any of that did that
Yeah,
happen?
yeah, 2019, because the famous crash in Lebanon was. So my mom died in 2012. 2019 was, I remember vividly, October 2019 is when we all literally lost access to all our savings in the banks, and still have not returned. Thankfully, I've built myself up since then, but it's a big thing in Lebanon. Like this has never happened in the history of the globe. It was huge. The banking sector was completely messed up. So October 2019 is when I hit rock bottom. We had been married for 2 months then. I had found another job after getting fired, all that, but losing the money, that was the safety was gone.
That's it. That's the
Uh,
nest egg. You know,
yes.
so we are definitely paralleled. When I met you, you knew I had my crazy father was in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, in 2017, he ended up cutting us out of his life, firing us, cutting us off, taking all the money, everything that he had given us, whatever. He was being investigated by the FBI. He's
Wow.
got all this
Okay.
shady stuff
Yeah.
going on. But this is so interesting. Everything was gone, right? Cut. And, there was some stuff floating here and there, but I mean, just everything.
Yeah.
And they came to my house and I had a Mercedes S550. They took it out of the driveway at 5 o'clock in the morning because they said this
Wow.
is a company car. Oh, yeah. No,
That's
they
like a movie.
brutal.
That's a straight up movie. Yeah. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
it's gonna be.
Yes.
But there's also, the I mean, it's such a long story that, I'll tell you one day when we see each other, but when I was with my father, I had that panic anxiety. I had the money, I had the bit, I had everything. You saw my apartment, like the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I never felt safe ever. So when I hit that wall in 2017, I was like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now?" Because you had family money that you were relying on that was part of this promise, right? So I
Yes.
understand that
So you
completely.
had that
And now all of
financial cutoff safety thing that was terrifying. Yeah.
and you know what's crazy? So for my story, one of my girlfriends said to me, "Angelique," and I was crying and I was like, "What am I gonna do? I have a baby." I had a 10-month-old baby.
Oh, yeah.
He cut the health insurance for my family, like everything just done,
Wow.
right? And my girlfriend said, "Listen, the next 5 years of your life, it's gonna be really hard." I thought, "Damn," I knew she was gonna say 5 years. I didn't know she meant, and then she said, "But run. The golden handcuffs are off. Run
Mm,
and don't look back."
mm,
From that point on, my anxiety I thought was gonna peak. Mine actually went in the opposite direction, and I started going into a time of really healing myself, and I think it was because the financial safety that I had put there, right? I had put all of my safety with my father was
mm,
now gone, and it was back on me. And the minute I realized it was back on me, there was a sense of power.
I love this. Yeah.
Very right? Very slow though.
Mm,
It wasn't an overnight, but I started to get my power back slowly but surely. Interestingly enough, the minute you set out on that path, right, you come up against an equal and opposite force. So I met a bunch of horrible people. And I met I met some good people too, but and I was like, what is going on? It's like everything is testing your resilience, you know? Like, yeah, do you really want to heal?
mm,
Yeah, do you really want to? So, that being said, because I know that you have now turned your whole world into this beautiful little empire,
yeah.
and I know that. So what I love about your story is you're saying you had all this financial crisis, you lost your job, you lost your family money, and then plot twist.
Yes.
We get to this point. So tell us about
That's
Nad's reviews and
reviews. Yes.
everything else that you've built.
Yes. No, so actually, there's so many parallels with what you said, and I think it's the same. And I found my power eventually, and it feels so good. This is a bit of a spoiler alert, but it feels so good to be financially independent, and I did it all on my own because I really started from zero again. I actually have days when I think of it, and I feel so proud of myself, especially because I made it out of a non-traditional. It's a non-traditional path. I'm a content creator today. Not many people can make money off that and live off it and make more money than I did in the corporate world when I was struggling paycheck to paycheck and all that. It feels very good to be able to provide for my wife and now my 1-year-old daughter of my passion. I feel super proud of that. And I try to, sometimes I
Yes.
think of it and I say you should pat yourself on the back because you really hit rock bottom, and you managed to do this. So to give you a bit about Nad's reviews, so right after you and I met, right after I left New York in September 2010, a year after I met you, I went back to Lebanon. My mom was going through chemo. It was a horrible year. I needed to work. So I joined an advertising agency as a copywriter because I was always a good writer. But it was horrible. Like I hated it. My soul was dying. I spent most of my days in the hospital by my mom, as she was doing chemo. It was a traumatic time in every way because you don't want to see the person you love, wither away and be nauseous and lose their hair and all of the works that come with chemo. So to kind of distract myself, you always knew how much I loved movies and series. Obviously, that's how we met. I decided I wanted to start writing down my thoughts of every single thing that I watched. So I started a blog called nadsreviews.com right there in the hospital room. I remember it vividly. And I started writing very detailed analysis and reviews of every single episode, every single movie I watched. It was such a beautiful outlet for me because I couldn't be a director anymore. I was shipped back to Lebanon because I had to stay with my mom. um, I didn't know where to start to fulfill that dream. This was kind of an outlet. Give your thoughts about the stuff you were watching. And I had very little readership, just some close friends. And it stayed like that for a good 10 years. Yeah. The only thing that pushed me, I kept doing it because I loved it, even though barely anyone was reading it. It wasn't until COVID, and we'll get to that, when people cared. But I did it for like 10 years with no return, no money coming in from that. I was still in advertising for 10 years, hating my life, but I needed to make money in some way. And writing was the only thing I thought I could do. But I was so miserable. My soul was dying in that corporate world. But every night I would write on my website and I would review whatever I was watching. And then COVID hit. I was in Dubai at the time. And someone said, why don't you try video reviews on TikTok? And I filmed a few video reviews. Takes 2 seconds, selfie. The writing takes so much more, writing the reviews and analyzing
Yeah.
the themes. It was so basic and quick, and they blew up.
Yeah.
And that was insane. I think because TikTok really blew up in COVID, if you remember.
Yeah.
People were doing trends at home and dances and all kinds of things. And I was different, especially in the region, because I was reviewing stuff. I wasn't doing silly stuff. It was kind of serious in a way. And they blew up. And I think a year into that, I started getting brand deals. So I managed to monetize it, not the reviews. The reviews are my organic opinion, but I would do stuff like order this pizza while watching your favorite shows, for example. And I still remember the first video I did was the first branded thing that I did was for a dessert company, a cake. They paid me $100 for that video. And I was so happy that I made $100 off Nad's reviews. I couldn't believe it. And I still order
Yeah.
cakes from this place. I'm so thankful for them for paying me. They saw the potential in my audience because people
Wow.
trust when I recommend to watch something. And then I hustled. I should say I got fired from another advertising job. It was the second time I got fired because they could tell I was not into it. And I told my wife, I need to give Nan's reviews my all and see if I can monetize it. It's going to be a risk, but we don't have kids. Can you support me? And she was 100% in because she had a good, stable corporate salary. It was enough for us to survive, although Dubai is insanely expensive, of course. I hustled in those months. It only took 6 months, which is quite fast. I made
That's
decks that
fast.
I shared with Netflix, with Disney, with all the streamers, why they should work with me, why I'm the perfect person to promote all their newest shows and movies. And I managed to start getting brand deals and I monetized within 6 months. I was asking for much more than $100. And it's been now 4 years of me doing this full time, my full on passion. I have no boss over my head because I really hated having a boss, Angelique, knowing that someone could take my livelihood. I didn't want to put like when I lost the money in the bank, when I got fired twice, I hated that someone could take my money, my livelihood away from me. I needed to be the source of it. I felt so strongly about this. I needed to be a brand. I remember thinking that a lot. You need to be able to fund your life. No one should pay you for it. I don't know. It was just there's a lot of ego in it because it's also so hurtful to get fired, even though I wasn't giving my all. But and yeah, now it's been 4 years, and I'm so happy to be monetizing my passion. And Nad's Reviews was the first in the region. Um, I was the first influencer or content creator who was doing film and TV reviews. Everyone was doing fashion or comedy or food. No one, I own this niche. And now there's a lot that have popped up. A lot of them tell me you inspired me. I'm doing it now.
Oh.
And they're my competition now, but 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 I was the first, which is great. And I've
Yes.
built people trust me. And yeah, I'm super happy from that. And the anxiety diminished a lot when I found my calling and my purpose. Because a lot of the heaviness when I would wake up in the morning, besides the grief and the financials and all of that, was you're passionate about something and you're not doing it. That's why I tell all my friends Try to work in your passion. I know it's tough, but it's going to remove so much sadness and anxiety from your life if you don't feel like you're wasting it for someone else's dream or business. you know
Yes.
I just
Oh
spoke
gosh.
for
Well,
so long. I'm so sorry.
no, I love this.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. I went on a
no,
rant.
never
Yeah,
apologize.
yes.
Never apologize.
Yeah,
That's what I'm here for. This
yeah,
is your story, you know?
yeah.
Um, there's so much that I love about this. The first part of it is that, yes, being financially dependent on yourself will absolutely start to abate the anxiety because
Yes.
that what you said right there, I don't want anybody, and by the way, that's not from the ego, that's 100% heart led.
Mm,
You are a heart led entrepreneur. When you think about it, you're being honest and saying, hey, I can wake up every morning and use my talent and my skill to make somebody else millions and millions of dollars. And let's face it, the majority of people are out there doing that,
of
right?
course. Yes.
And you're right. It's a soulless thing for a lot of people. They're coming in, they want more, they don't know what it is, but they're tied into houses they can't afford, cars they can't afford, lifestyles they can't afford, or they're barely getting by. And it's scary to go after your dream because, as you said in the top, it's a risk.
There's a lot of risk. Yeah.
So it's a lot of risk. But the fact that you did it and you did it with all your heart and you went all in and you took the skill set that you learned from being, having your soul sucked out at these advertising companies. And you said to yourself, I'm going to be using my talent to take me to the next level. That's now going to go down to your children. That's going to be passed down, through your legacy. That's why I love this story because a lot of people hit rock bottom, but they stay.
Yeah.
Or they hit rock bottom and they don't realize that that's a call to action. That's the universe not necessarily shredding you, but revealing you,
And by the way,
right?
I hit rock bottom again last year
Yeah. Well,
for
last year was a mother effer,
yes, no,
but go
for
ahead.
something completely different that I never saw coming. Having a kid. So, I should rewind a bit. So, I got on that med in 2019. I told you this SSRI. You take, you pop a pill every day. It regulates the dopamine, whatever, all that good stuff. I was on it for 5 years. And then I thought, oh, I think I'm great now. I don't need it. Um, so I said, you know what? I'm going to wean myself off it with the help of my doctor. And I did. It took many months. In retrospect, you don't do this when a big life change is coming. My wife was pregnant when I decided to do this. I had stopped therapy those few months because I was feeling so good again. Although I know you don't, for me, it's so important. Even when things are good, you don't stop it. I don't know. I was on a high. And in retrospect, you never stop probably a med when a big life change is incoming. But I felt so confident, I stopped it. A few months later, my wife gave birth. And 2 months into, Izzy was born in September 2024. In November 2024, all my anxiety came rushing back because I just didn't know. It was a whole new identity, a whole new stress of financials to think about. My relationship with my wife changed, as is what always happens when you have a kid. We had to adjust to a whole new world. And in November 2024, which is exactly a year ago, right? Yes, it is exactly a year ago, I crashed pretty hard in a very weird way, in that I stopped eating. I was having like a banana a day. Not many people know this story, just a few close friends. It was so bizarre. Like, I'm someone who, if even when I'm sad, I eat a lot. Like, I eat my feelings. So to lose my appetite was super bizarre to me. I would wake up with that heaviness on the chest that I'd experienced in the past. I didn't want to work really. Like, I was too overwhelmed by all the brand deals, which were good things, but I just didn't know where to start. I felt like I wasn't there enough for my daughter because she had colic, so she would not stop crying 24/7. Any parents who have had a baby with colic know how hellish it is. So I crashed for like a week. I became a zombie until I went to the psychiatrist. I said I want to get back on the med, all of that. It took a month or so, and then I was good again. Um, but I learned a lot of lessons, like don't make big life decisions, like getting off meds when you have a big life change coming up. Never stop therapy. For me, it's something I always want as a part of my life, even when things are good. Just like you go to the gym for your body. I think it's good to go to the therapist for your mind. Always.
Well, yeah.
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 And so there were
Especially
a lot of
especially
lessons. Mm.
yeah. Well, especially if you're a conversational processor, right? So you
I've never heard
heal
that
yourself.
before. Conversational
It
processor. Yeah.
Yeah, it means that you process information through conversation, right?
Mm.
Some people, um, they're more like internal processors where they do it through their own mind, but there are people, I'm also a conversational processor where I have to
Mhm.
talk it out. And I talk it out until I beat it to death
100%.
in my
That's so me.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And once you've beaten it to death, it disappears. It transforms. That energy just dissipates.
Mm.
Um you know, the thing about medication is I do think it's important for people, but there's so many stigmas around medication, no
Yes.
medication. And it is such a personal choice. You have to know what your body and listen to your body. If your body does well on something and your body needs that, absolutely. When you're ready, Nadim, you will eventually take yourself off, but
Mm.
to your point, you absolutely can't do it through one of the big 5 is like a move, a marriage,
Yes.
a baby, a death. Like, you can't do it
You can't.
during that time. So you're right to say,
You have to
"What
be in
was
a
I
stable
thinking?"
place in your life with predictability, all of that. And just to add on the stigma of medication, imagine in the Arab world where it's still very taboo, it's not like the West, and a man as well. Here, the stereotypical man has to be so macho and in control and not show weakness, never cry, all of that. So, so as you know, Nad's Reviews, my platform. I review movies and shows, but a few years ago, I decided to also start talking about anxiety and medication and all of that. Every few months, I do a video about it and it goes viral, particularly because men in the region, so many go through this, but they are meant to made feel like they're less than, they should be ashamed of it. And by the way, most of them DM me, they message me, they don't write public comments. So the stigma is that strong here. It's usually women who comment publicly under my
Publicly.
videos about anxiety, medication, any of those. The men still prefer to message me, and I'm very grateful for that. And they tell me stuff like, "Oh, my parents had cancer," or "I lost someone," or whatever it is, got fired, I'm going through it. Do you recommend I see a therapist? Even therapy. Oh, okay. So I love this. So when we first met, I will never forget, you told me very casually that you see a therapist. I will never forget this. And I've said this a lot to friends over the years. Oh, my closest friend in New York, Angelique, casually told me the first few days we met that she sees a therapist. This is very shocking in the Arab world. Now it's gotten better, but in 2009, I was shocked when you said that, how comfortable you were. And I loved that. I loved that. And we see it a lot here in the Arab world when we watch Western TV shows, which is the thing we watch most, how casually they talk about therapy, for example. It's not common here. I make it a point here to talk about it a lot, therefore, hopefully encouraging others, especially men, to do the same because they're still so ashamed. So ashamed.
Yeah.
Right. So I think one of my purposes in life is not just helping people know what to watch and giving them this platform, but also mental health awareness, in the Arab world when it comes to therapy, medication, all of that.
Yes, and you know what? You can't help people if you don't go through the fire.
Yeah.
So you were chosen because, and I say this to a lot of people, only the strongest of people, right? it's not because you're overlooked or the why me or life is not fair. It's because your constitution, your strength, your inner fire is so strong that the powers that be, whether they be alien or otherwise, they are they have chosen your soul, or your soul has chosen this journey because there's a bigger purpose to what it is that you have to do. And I say this all the time, I talk about panic anxiety because I lived it.
Mm,
I know what it feels like. I know how debilitating it can be. You know this. You know what it feels like. And I love that you want to help men specifically because the
yeah.
one thing, especially as the mother of a son, that I get so, I better not curse, but fucking pissed about, right? Is that men are not allowed to emote.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to show vulnerability.
Yeah.
And vulnerability in a man has always been conflated with weakness, and they are not the same thing. I would actually argue that a man who is angry and screaming and whatever is weaker of character than a man who can cry or get in with their feelings,
Agreed.
um, and be in their feelings. I love that I mean, I could cry. I love that you're doing this because this is what humanity needs, and we no man left behind, we gotta take everybody up, 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 up.
And by the
So the
way,
fact that
yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no. No, no, you
I
say it.
just want to say every time I do one of these videos, I also get hate. Yeah. I get men and women making fun of my vulnerability, my weakness. They're a small percentage, but you know how they say that one negative comment sticks with you, and you
Yes.
ignore the thousands of positive ones. Some of them can be very hurtful. And I sometimes, every single time I want to post one of these videos, I have that little thought in my head, don't do it. What if it compromises your brand deals? What if certain clients would not want to work with you anymore? Because, especially when you talk about, let's say, medication or anything like that. But then I say, fuck them, since we're
Yes.
swearing. If someone does not want to work with me because I'm open about this, then I don't want to be affiliated with them. And thankfully, I don't think it's ever happened. I still get a lot of work. If someone in the background has decided not to work with me because I'm outspoken about this, or they didn't want me to represent a brand because I'm not in line with that vision because of this, then that's good. That means it was not meant for me, you know?
Yes, that means
Mhm.
they are not an energetic match, and it's much better to go solo and get because you will align with people
Yeah,
who are on your page because 'cause they're out there. They're
yeah,
absolutely out there. What you don't wanna do
100%.
is shrink yourself or dim yourself in order to fit into a box that is not your box. That's
100%.
like, I say this a lot, well, I remember I worked with this marketing company and yeah, ugh, they just were a bunch of thieves if I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and, it was all about, "Oh, you're gonna go this and you're gonna do this, and oh yeah, we're gonna call you the white witch." And I'm like, "The white what is that?" And I remember going home and thinking, "This is the goddamn stupidest thing. I am living in the stupidest timeline right now. What
What's
is
the white
going?"
witch?
That's how they wanted to market me, like, the
Right.
because I was doing this call cut method, and
Oh,
basically all I'm doing is teaching people how to connect to the unified field consistently throughout the day by calling your awareness to the things that you do that hold you back from living your best life. And when
oh,
you do that repeatedly, you eventually elevate and you stay in that higher vibration. But see, you actually hit on it. You just said one negative comment could
yeah.
send you into a whirlwind and you could have thousands of positive ones. And you're like, yeah, okay, I don't care about that. Why did this person say this? And
Yes.
that's really,
And my
that's
goal
because
is
we
to
are,
stop getting affected by that one negative comment. I've gotten better at it, but sometimes they just hit a nerve and it hurts. Yes.
and that's okay. A
Yeah.
lot of the times when they hit that nerve, when you stop yourself, you say, you know what?
Why did this hurt
I
me?
don't,
Mm,
you can ask, it's always good to ask yourself because
mm.
you bring awareness
Yes.
to a story that you're telling yourself, right? So the minute you stop yourself, you're like, why does this bother me? Ah, you can start to pinpoint where the original trigger actually happened.
Yes.
And as soon as you could pinpoint that, you could heal it.
Mm.
Then it doesn't bother you. Like now when trolls come to my social media, I've always put the laughing face, and
Yeah.
it drives them crazy.
You
They're
reply to
like, "Oh,
the
you
hate
think this is
comments with a
funny?"
laughing face, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because I say to myself, "How utterly amusing you are, madam or sir."
I'm gonna
Usually
start doing that.
usually it is
Mm.
yeah, usually it's sir. It's usually
Mm.
men.
Mm.
Um, few times they have then backpedaled
Mm.
and tried to act like it was a flirtation, and I'm
Wow.
like, No, I'm not flirting with you, sir. There's no flirtation here. I don't like you,
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
came here." And they've insulted, other people on my page that make comments, and, these people come and they're being vulnerable and they're opening up and they feel like it's a safe
Safe
space,
space,
and
yeah.
I keep it a safe space, so I don't have a problem telling people to piss off
Mm.
who come and try to hurt others or spread their negativity. And that's something, as you start to work through, remember, we are 10, at least 10 plus years, right? Different age
Yes.
difference, right?
Yeah.
So as you start to go through your journey and you get even more into this realm of really elevating people, you will also step into that power
Mm.
of not being afraid to tell people in a nice way. And I will always do it in a kind way, like, great. Don't let the
Mm.
door hit you where the good Lord split you, you know?
I
Just go.
love that.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you, Nadim. I mean, honestly,
Thank
there's
you.
a lot that there's a lot that you're doing, and for anybody uh, who's out there, and we're gonna put this up, but really, if Nadim, he is unbelievably brilliant, and by the way, I don't think that directing is off the table for you. I think
Well, I
that that's
don't think
something that's
either. I think this has bring me
yeah.
back towards my purpose. So it's super interesting because for the last few years with Nad's reviews, I often have this thought, Nadim, you're so far off from your path. Remember when you went to New York Film Academy with Angelique and your dream was to become a director and you're so far off that, like you're just reviewing stuff. But then I started realizing that this now gives me a platform. So I wrote a show. I wrote a pilot, and I planned out the first few episodes of that season. Actually, I planned out the whole season. It's a 6 episode show. It's very much based on me, but super exaggerated, dark comedy that tackles anxiety and grief. And I think it's pretty special and potentially global, actually, very global. So now I'm trying to shop it around. And of course, I would direct it. I wouldn't just write it, I would direct it. And platforms now want to hear my idea because they're familiar with me because now I'm a figure here in the Arab world. So, Angelique, the thing that happened is that the narrative I had in my head that I'm so far from my purpose made me think, oh no, you were supposed to do this to build a name for yourself so that when you want to pitch your show or movie, it's going to be much easier because people know who you are now. So it's very funny how the world
Yes.
works. I haven't done it yet. It might be a very long road, but I love that you said you don't think directing is off the table because I feel like my purpose, that is still the ultimate dream. And I still want to pursue it or at least try so that I don't regret it when I'm on my deathbed that I never tried, you know?
Yes. No, that's the beauty of the dream, right? That's what
Yeah.
you wanna tell people is we have to go through the dark night of the soul. We have to. We live in a polarity, so we have to experience both sides. But people give up, and they
Mm.
give up right where it's about to turn. They give up right where they're about to step into something else. And people say to me all the time, "Oh, well, are you stepping out of the film industry, or did you get?"
Mm.
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Listen, friends, this woman is all, gung ho, full speed ahead, but it has to be what the heart wants. And it has to be something now that gives back to people, right? What you're writing, especially a dark comedy, because you're very good with dark comedy. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, do you remember when we would watch oh God, that cartoon, The Penguins of Madagascar? Do you
Oh, of
remember when we
course.
were
And
with King
King
Julian?
Julian, and of course. Yes.
Because we would just crack up. And I used to say all the time, I'm like, Nadim is so funny. Like, you would crack jokes off their jokes and, like, say these things and very side, and I mean, I would laugh and laugh.
I use comedy so much to diffuse very dark, morbid situations. Like, I will never forget this story. Someone asked me a few years ago, how are my parents doing? They didn't know that they passed away. Apparently, they were close and friends. Weird that they didn't hear that they both died. So, you know what I said? I said, oh, they're great. They say hi. Like, I wasn't going to go through the whole he got cancer and he died and she got cancer and she it was just easier and funnier to say, oh, they're great, they say hi. So yeah, just off the comedy thing. That's kind of what the show is, by the way. That kind of humor, that's the humor that helped me survive so much grief. Yeah.
And I think that's gonna help a lot of people. I
Mm.
would love to see it if you feel like sharing it.
Of
Um,
course, I'm gonna send it to
and
you right after
y
this call.
yes. Oh, I'm dead. I wanna read it and,
Yeah.
see what maybe if we can make something cool happen. But
Yes.
I am oh man, I feel like I wish I had more time and we could just go. Maybe we'll come back again for another one.
Yes. I
But
would love to.
but Nadim, I I am so incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
Everything that you have done, you have overcome the darkest of dark, and you have shown that even through the worst possible scenarios and heavy grief and loss of love, loss of money, loss of all of it, you could come out on the other side fully in your passion, with a family, a beautiful wife, a baby and another baby,
And
and
one on the
all
ways.
these
Yes.
things that are, yes,
Yeah.
that people this shows people that you can do it. You just have to get behind yourself and understand that the law of rhythm, life is going to go up, it's going to go down, but it doesn't mean that any life doesn't give up on you. It doesn't mean the universe hasn't got your back. It doesn't mean that you aren't destined for the things that seem to have slipped, but sometimes we go in the back door
Oh,
or
yeah, I love that. So
sometimes,
true.
right? Or the path we think is the right one is maybe the harder one and we get redirected. You just said it. Now I have this public platform and people know who I am. So the chances that you can have something out there are way, way higher than somebody who didn't put that work
Who
in and
just
is trying
graduated
to.
film school and is trying to sell a movie or a show. 100%. Yeah.
It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. So
And by the way,
yes, I
just
am.
to go off what you said about like out the other side, yes, I'm much happier now and in my power and all of that. But the tough times still come, right? Like
Yes.
every time the anxiety comes back every once in a while, like last year, a year ago was that month was harder than losing both my parents, by the way. Imagine because I had
Yeah.
this new person to think about, and it was just a lot, and I'm still scared of it happening again. And you know what? At some point, it might, but you have to have faith that you will get through it, and just take it day by day. Use the tools that you've learned, and lean on the people around you. I guess I think that's a big one as well. Yeah.
Yes. Your community. And look, it will come back again because the
Mm,
bottom line is we're always going to be faced with
mm,
different adversarial energies. It's the nature of, I'll
yeah.
send you a book to read about it, but it's the nature of reality, of this reality with the duality, right?
Mm,
It's what you said before. What you ultimately do is become stronger and stronger and stronger so that when those things come, you can sit and you can ride the middle of the wave. You don't dip in the dips and you don't go too far in the crests. You just know how to ride through so you can move through life seamlessly. That's why all of these philosophies talk about the middle way. It's the cutting through it so that you understand none of it's real. None of it has any real hold over you. You are the power center. You choose. And the more you get like really solid in the idea that I can choose to have this attack right now, or I can remember I'm safe. I've been here before. God, I've had thousands of these and
I know what to do,
And have faith you'll
right?
survive it. Because I remember vividly thinking, oh, I will never survive my dad passing away. And then my mom got it. And I said, I will never survive her passing away. We're too close. And last November, I thought, no, if this ever comes again, I will not survive it. Now, every time I get this fear, I tell myself, you've done it before. Whatever comes at you, just have faith that you will survive it, you know?
Yes, that's it. And that
Mhm.
I don't wanna say I don't wanna dismiss it and say that's it, but it's odd how sometimes the most simple thing is the
Gives you
answer.
comfort. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. The minute you realize and friends for anybody who has panic anxiety watching this, the minute you understand that you have the power over your body, over your mind, there's nothing outside of you, and you really go all in on that, and you know you can heal yourself, you can heal the brain, you can I can't speak, rewire the
Rewire the
brain through
brain. Yes.
neuroplasticity,
That's a big one.
right? Nadim, I would like, we are out of time, but tell everybody where they can find you
Oh yes.
online. Yeah.
So I'm mostly on Instagram and TikTok. The account is called Nads Reviews. So my name is Nadim. So the name is Nads Nads Reviews. And you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. And basically what I do is I help you figure out what to watch because there are a lot of choices these days. So many streaming platforms. Like it's good to have someone help you decide what to watch. So yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not like a paid, critic or somebody who's
No.
really just a lover
Honest,
of film,
credible, yes,
and
100%.
he is, friends. I could attest to this. We were in many, many situations, movie theaters, houses, watching different things, and Nadim
Yes.
is also an incredible writer and director. So it's going to be really cool to see how this journey unfolds for you in the next decade, right? I have a feeling it's going to be one hell of a ride and a beautiful one.
Thank you so much, my friend. And I know we're gonna work together again as well. Because
Oh, yeah.
for those who don't know, Angelique and I during film school worked together a lot. Like I directed her,
Yeah.
she directed me. We did a lot of fun short films together, and there's such nice memories, for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, it's not often that you get to say, like, I still have friendships with my favorite people. Like, there are people who imprint on I'm gonna cry, imprint on your heart, and they never
Yeah.
go.
And the
And
funny thing is, we haven't seen each other since 2010, which is so rare that we're still so close. We always stayed in touch, and
yeah.
we've always had that bond. And I think that makes it very unique and special.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why I say, cherish the people that are good in your life
Oh,
because they're few and far between. But man, when you get those gifts, it's like the greatest gift you could ever get from the universe. More than anything else is the gift of friendship and genuine friendship.
hold on to
So
them. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.